Hello everyone. I want to talk about the importance of, in a sense, having your own moments. And what does that mean? That means throughout our life, where we are involved with many others, we tend to see ourselves participating in many activities. All activities that we participate in, we can consider as games. When we're in games, we're involved with others. In other words, our attention is going to other people's reality. But sometimes you notice, based on how you were conditioned and prepared for school, you have at times been put into scenarios of a group dynamic before you had an awareness to your own ideas even. In other words, you were given ideas before you had your own good look first. So what that means is that before we move into a house, before we move into a sense of identity or sense of self, we have to observe its space. And we don't know that space, so we find it out in society. So what happens is that anytime there is something disturbed with our name is like our survival, is like our body, is a mental body. We get angry if people make fun of our name. We have different emotions stir up. So we see that when we're not aware of our own machinery, and when we go among others, everyone is playing with their own game, their own toy, in a sense. And what that means is that people have awareness, and eventually they take awareness to certain things, and that's how even people can begin to even understand the same thing. Because different parts get cut out. And what I mean by that is that we get different versions of our reality. That is pretty much how the unknown is opening to us. And anyways, pretty much with other people, your moments no longer become just yours. They become shared. What that means is that you look at your sense of identity when you're around people slightly differently than when you look around it when you're with yourself. And you might have good reason to. However, we're not trying to be Russian spies every day. We're not trying to be personas that are getting what they want in regards to a material outlook on life. A material outlook on life means that you are telling people, and you'll probably tell your kid, to cherish more the physical than stuff that is observant of the physical. So in other words, rather than being attentive to laws, you simply teach others to grab, because that is your wisdom. Your wisdom is to grab onto more stuff. If someone's giving something free, get all of it. If someone is giving something at a good price, get all of it. Get everything that you need for your survival. And you realize that is true in a sense. We do need to survive. We do need to get stuff. But at times, survival distracts us from what we're here to experience in a sense. And when I say that, I'm saying that very loosely. I'm not saying that very firmly, because everyone has their own path. There are people I've met you see, one thing you understand is that once you get some revelation for yourself, you think that route should be set to anyone. Once you get some comfort and, I guess in a sense, healing from the expansion of your own ideas, you want everybody's ideas to expand. But at times you see that not everybody's ideas should expand at the same time. There are different speeds. In other words, life is this great mind, and every human being is its different way of living. And as it's living, we see that the moments are really being, I guess in a sense, every moment programmed and, in a sense, I guess affected by the information that was here previously. So when I say you need to spend moments with yourself, you need to always, first of all, be comfortable looking at yourself. Always be comfortable to look at yourself. Always be comfortable to look at your past. Always be comfortable to look at your future. There's no reason to be uncomfortable. And if you are, then you need a push, either internally from yourself or from others. So, you see, guys, the basic necessities need to be kept comfortably. In other words, you need to survive comfortably, and you realize if you have dinner, if you have food, you have time between food, between your next meal, to actually experience your own moment. And when I say experience your own moment, it's a sense, I am saying that We are sensitive to different things throughout the day, and we look at them, and at times we don't appreciate them. Pretty much, I guess the simplest meditation that one can do, and which actually brings self-healing, is to actually look at the self. Look at the self, study yourself, try to find out what it is, and you realize that when you begin to learn from yourself, you're in a sense not learning from a physical teacher. You're not in a sense learning from the failure, but the observance that is seeing the failure. And you see the observance because it's neutral, because it's transparent, because it's unspeakable and inconceivable, it can be a moment of any creation. You see, we are a moment of existence and we are experiencing. It is arrogant to say that we are the only ones experiencing in the world. It is not arrogant to say that we're only experiencing our world, because we in a sense are, until we have information to define a better one. So there is the senses and the differences in the senses. So we can see that we have many instruments, and so in this whole life, we're always hearing different sounds from ourselves, different possibilities, different capabilities. Things are happening we don't have the control over, we can't understand. And there are things happening that we can understand and we do have control. But life is more than an illusion. And please take this seriously, because if you're not, then you have accepted in the background of your mind that this reality is elusive and you're fine. You see, it is not that it's an illusion, that just like how a TV is shut off. One may think it might suddenly be shutting off the TV screen, but in a sense, it's not. You know, because you have memory access at different forms, in different forms of being. And I don't know how to explain that now. Perhaps I'll explain it in the future. Maybe in a month or two. But you notice this, and your moment of experience is your moment of being aware of all the memories which you find to be at the peak of your experience and the most defining of you. And in that, you let go of your achievements. And guys, this is very hard for me to explain, but please understand that I'm taking a very Zen kind of approach to this and suggesting some ideas set in the past, and pretty much we are figuring out how to be our own teacher. So in other words, I'm not being a teacher of sorts. I'm simply being one who is sharing ideas in which we can teach ourselves, in which we can recognize things from ourselves. So in other words, I guess in a sense I am an artist, because I'm showing you a landscape to then look at yourself again. Now, you, in a sense, I guess, will understand and reveal some things to yourself when you begin meditating deeply or cultivating insight deeply. You know what cultivating insight is? It's pretty much, you don't have to be in a certain pose. You could be in any pose, you could be in any physical way, and you could still cultivate insight. It's just a self-awareness. You know, you just need to look in the mirror to see yourself. That's it. And looking in the mirror is an instant of recognizing what you are and who you are and where you're heading. Sometimes we are more defined by where we think we're heading than where we are. In other words, our sensitivity to now is still limited because we haven't had the experience that freedom can be found in more ways in our eyes. And that's what I'm pretty much communicating here. Because guys, the youth are going to feel blind for a while, and the old are going to see that they see too much, you know. And then we're all going to see that the measurements we have that are defining our reality are simply the differences between different experiences and memory comparisons, and also at the same time different views. So different views create different kinds of human being. We have many different kinds of human being, but we have human beings here. So what that means is that difference we pay attention to, and we see that the random creativity of an individual is an access to information that the mind presently doesn't have. In other words, when, let's say, a random child comes and tells you a story that there was no way for it to know in this life, it is working then based on a different intelligence. So that is what we're going to accept as the core of man, the intelligence that is running man. And we see that the intelligence that is running man is for man coming in the understanding of self. So if man wants to understand his intelligence, if you're a man, you want to understand your intelligence, you go look for the self. You just look at yourself and that's it. And you go into your own depth and you allow your imagination to comfortably, gracefully, and intuitively share with you that which you need to know and learn. You see, it's fine. Go through learning these lessons in this life. But just at the same time, be aware where you are. Because sometimes we're here to learn lessons, but it doesn't mean we're always in the classroom. In the sense that you need to always be feeling that you're preparing yourself for your greatest work. You're always preparing yourself for your greatest work. Have this mentality because you never know when it comes. In other words, you are choosing the intensity in which you want to tackle life. There are people who plan life years ahead, months ahead, days ahead, minutes ahead, and there are those who naturally just walk into the fire, understanding that it doesn't matter how much they calculate the fire, they just need to pass through it. And passing through means not buying into the realities that sometimes our physical actions are suggesting. In other words, you're not an unhappy person because you've got the worst job in the world. You're unhappy because after you leave your job, you're still thinking about your job. So, happiness is your own playful approach to life, and you need to find this for yourself. You don't need gurus. You don't need any voice, including my own. You simply just need to see how you can be more playful. And when you're playful, you release, guys. Playfulness is a cure because you see what happens when someone laughs? They become playful. They can't take the thing that's there seriously enough. And what that means is the real and the unreal have been presented to the person in a very hilarious way. And you notice that moment is very important. Because visions meet. And the visionary was never built only on his own vision. Understand this. A visionary is never built only on his vision. A visionary must see the vision of the past that has failed to be the vision of the present that is going to succeed. And that is important for human intelligence. To have this mass awareness of its mass presence, which is all found within the moment. So in other words, when you're doing meditation, after a while, and this is my experience so far, at this age, in this moment, that you begin to reveal things about yourself you didn't know. For example, the creativity you have, the unique tastes you have, the memories you have, the relevances you have, the cognitions you have, the ideas only you have, only you can have. Once you become aware of these, then you can have a greater value. But if you're aware of other people's ideas, then you won't try. So in a sense, mentally you can create a smaller world for yourself than the one you see. In other words, you can take less opportunities. You want to take more opportunities in your life. How do you take more opportunities? By being present. And in a sense, this is my experience. I found a certain neutrality helps when one is becoming sensitive to things. When you're becoming sensitive to things, understand that they're both conditions. That you have the ability to interpret a good and a bad condition from something that doesn't need to have a condition, but you can put a condition on it. In other words, like letting someone use your phone, but having conditions for them using it if they're a stranger, So you see, the mind of a man is very blended in with its formless, visions. We do have formless vision. You cannot ignore the sense. The fact is that we want to explain it because we're afraid. No, those who know never need to explain. And those who explain probably never need to know. But in a sense, please understand that spend some time throughout your day and be with yourself. Feel yourself and breathe your greater sense of presence and discover more. Discover something new. And your own moment is not always looking at the past to see who you are. It's at the same time being in the present and being aware and receiving from a new experience. In other words, how much knowledge and information I think you naturally absorb from life as the sphere of awareness you are as you go through it is based on how you're interpreting that knowledge and if it's selfish or selfless. In other words, what selfless means is that after some point in your way of maintaining yourself, you understand that priority is the environment and is others. The only reason you're physical to be separate, to see a relationship with another human being, is to communicate in that relationship. We are present in this snapshot of reality, in this design of reality, and hence we are to work through this design and to be aware of how this design is incorporated in many aspects and dimensions of our own understanding and observance. Guys, it's very important because you can only talk about this stuff for a certain time and then realize that eventually the person has to take himself there. You have to begin climbing the mountain. And climbing the mountain begins with asking your own questions. Ask questions that only you have. And then see who can answer them. And in a sense, it will come down to the sound of your heartbeat. And why it's there. So, you need to understand what I find to be the powerful realm of philosophy is that it opens itself to the unknown to look in new ways in how life is made. We need an update system for human thought, and that is the ability to keep seeing new philosophy, but at the same time don't talk about philosophy, because when we're talking about philosophies rather than finding new ones, we're in a sense keeping the old because we've come up with it. You don't want to keep a bad, let's say you come up with a medium idea when there are better ones. You don't want to promote your medium idea that much, unless your medium idea has the potential to become a great idea. But you want to understand that when you're losing, you need to stop. Just stop all your activities when you feel you're losing in life. If you're losing happiness or whatever, if you just stop for a second. Go on some nature, go to some park. I recommend if you're someone who lives in the city and who is under a lot of pressure based on, let's say, work or whatnot, just stop. Go to a park where there's a playground and simply walk. Walk in different areas of the park, walk in different ways, feel how you can walk in different ways and you have the freedom to go anywhere. And just keep contemplating and realizing it's your own very awesome way of having, I guess, a tradition or, I guess, a certain method in how you approach things. In other words, back in the day, people had, they had altars, they had shrines, you know? And how I interpreted that was that people had a place where they would put symbols of what they wanted to get closer to throughout the day, a shrine. So what I would suggest is that you begin, and your shrine could be just any object it'll call to you. For example, I was walking around and suddenly I get this intuitive thought to pick up this rock in the most inconvenient place. The rock was in the most inconvenient place. I pick up this tiny rock and actually after I clean it, it's a very nice rock, but I feel I need to have this rock every time I, for example, do some certain readings. So what that means is I have that presence, and I notice when I have that, it's affecting my thought structure. So you realize your thoughts are really affected by all the things you have a memory of and are triggering memories. And so you see that if you're able to create a separate reality in your mind, your conception has the ability to bring you that experience. That means we can experience nothingness if we do tune into how real the thought of man is in his own eyes. You see, there is a point where in all meditative practice one loses themselves. And in a sense, you experience a selfless presence where you see that your greatest contribution to humanity was to amplify it, to help it. And you see that help is best seen when you have something to research and to see how you can fix the human problem. And how you can fix the human problem is by studying your human self, by studying yourself and seeing that what problems are you identifying which you can improve somehow and give a contribution to. It doesn't matter, guys, what kind of problems it is. If everyone is trying to find an answer, eventually we'll find a good answer. And we need to create atmospheres where people are talking about answers. Because right now we have news which is talking about problems. And it's up to ourselves to talk about answers. So, for example, when I went on my, let's say, beginning, the spark of my spiritual journey, when it happened, I noticed that I began actually answering my own questions, because that's what you get curious for if you're still. What does that mean? That means if I put you in a room right now, you chill there for, let's say, a couple hours, eventually there'd be a question in your mind you'd want to know the answer to. You'd be like, what's going on outside? Now, I didn't ask what's going on outside. I asked what's going on with me seeing everything in this way and people telling me this is my truth. You know, people having so many opinions on truth. What is this truth? And I realized the best accurate way to experience truth is actually to experience it. In other words, you want to experience truth. You don't want to read about truth too much. Because when you read about truth, you begin experiencing your ideas on the thing. You want to actually not have too much attention on belief. You don't want to have too much attention on belief. You actually want to sit here and put your attention outwards on things. And what that means is you begin appreciating and acknowledging everything. See your sense of duality and your separation with everything around you, and then begin seeing your sense of duality and separation with your own ideas. And you see that this is where confusion begins, because man has the ability in his subtler mental sense to be alive in many different bodies. You can think of yourself being you now. You can think of a better version of yourself. You can think of yourself as a superhero. You can think of fantasy. You can think of many things. So we see that our subtler reality is simply an entrance of ideas which eventually become experienced by us, or maybe perhaps instantly are. You see guys, life, I try to live it very mysteriously. In other words, when people are telling me to be too certain, that's when I know actually I need to be the opposite. When people are telling me, be something, I notice that when I'm listening to others, there better be a part of my own voice saying the same thing in me if I'm listening to it. If you're doing things which a part of you feels you shouldn't, it's because you do have this access to this collective intelligence. So let me tell you, what people are now calling the difference between intuition is in a sense a greater observance of the body, which is the being, which is the human being, right? So trust me, and in some cases, the way you look at the human body alters where your experience is originating from. And you see that origination is at times not limited to time and space, it is free in a sense. And so when you see that the origination of your consciousness is a free spark, then everything begins to light up for you in a very different way. You begin to see that meanings are found both in silence and noise. In other words, of course, there were questions your teacher wanted to ask, but your teacher never could measure your intelligence in your silence because it was not communicated. So what we can see is we are choosing the condition, or actually we are choosing the quality of our experience. And in the Western world, it is not high because it's too materialistic. You need to have a greater observance to all materials. That's it. I don't know if you're a thug or if you are, whatever, if you're a man who's worn the same suit or that he's had to, whoever you are, you can always observe everything. You can go home and just observe your memories. You can perceive. We all know that man has sight, man has vision. That is the first thing people agree. Because man had vision, man could see senses that were other than himself. Before you had vision, there was no location, there was no time and space, but it doesn't mean experience wasn't present. Experience was not allocated in a memory that required time and space. That is what many people forget. Because in a sense of truth, when you know what kind of attention is on you, you know how you're looking at yourself. And this is by far a very beautiful but extremely hard concept to talk about. And I don't know if anyone's ever talked about it like me, but I will suggest it with a certain might, that your sense of awareness can change your world because it can change you, because it can change your understanding of how you is. Your understanding of you right now is based on your attention to certain ideas. When you experience your sense of self through any idea, you realize you can work through any idea of other people as well. So what that means is that you're always observant of your unified experience during your separation, and during your unity, you're always aware of your separated experience. So what that means is that, let's say for example, okay guys, here we're going to get a bit abstract, but still follow me, perhaps an idea may reveal itself nicely. When we look at others, we do see them within ourselves. Because all we have is images of our own experience to compare with what others can be experiencing. So we see that a lot of qualities we're seeing in others are actually being compared to a lot of qualities that are in ourselves. So we're in a sense seeing our own version of other people. Now the more you talk to people, the more real it becomes. So this is how the quality of the experience changes, because you feel you know someone more. You see guys, after chasing the biggest wallet, or the last shirt you give away before you give away everything. Your choice is up to you. There are many brushstrokes in reality. What that means is that the way you're alive is as true as any way I'm alive. Because energy has learned to speak to itself. And when energy speaks to itself, it always feels it's separated, but it's really not. And this might be a bit vague, but at the same time, it doesn't mean that our understanding should be too thick to allow us to see greater things, right? Scientific understanding is not acknowledging how people are having experiences they can't explain based on this dimension. What that means is that there is more than a chemical imbalance in the mind. There is an attention that continues with a full memory and presence during the whole thing. In other words, during some recollections of memories, you may at some point experience that memory to then recognize that that experience was completely being observed by a sense of view that didn't need any shaped limitation. So what I'm saying is that during my talks, we are here to reveal what our God means to us, what our greatest theory means to us. It's perfect that you're, serious, quantum theorist, but at the same time, you bash certainty at people. You cannot bash certainty because you don't know on what kind of terrace people are looking at things from. And there are many ways of getting interrupted in this life. How's it going? I don't know why I'm giving you this, but I hope you let it be changed, yeah? Well, thank you very much. All right, take care. Thank you. Bye. Bye. Sorry about that. Just to continue on. You see, we don't know why conditions come to us at times, and we use our reasoning to judge them. And you see, sometimes your conditioning has made you into a perfect executioner to judge another person's reality because you are so certain in yours. And that is not right in this world. You need to be a bit loose. You need to be flexible, and you need to let others speak. Because when you do, you learn of what humanity is. You're exploring more of what the human experience is. Listen to others. But at the same time, know yourself enough not to be changed by every breeze. Some changes are meant to happen not at once. In other words, you need to get hit down a couple times before you can even see the victory that is to be yours, for example. But these are about the game. So when I'm talking to you, I'm not really talking about the games of life, which are all the ideas we can have and all the scenarios we can create and all the survival we can play with, and try to judge a fittest and whatnot, But there is a sensitivity to the moment before all moments were clouded, before the illusion happened. So before you accepting an illusion right now, there is a silent moment found, and it is very still in the sense of how you're aware of what you are, And you realize your consciousness is able to experience itself through many bodies. And it is. And what that means is that the information you're receiving might sound confusing to your physical body because it's coming from many realms of sensitivity in which our presence is present in. And blindness is a choice when you could always look back and see. And it's important for you to look at yourself and see you are defining your intelligence, not others. And that is how we, in a sense, perceive the truth within our truth, which one truth is being bashed by concept and the other truth is just looking quietly. And these two truths are different in regards to the understanding that comes to you. Because you see, I am simply a communication of all that I can know. to others. And hence realities that are built based on different assumptions. We are just simply beings capable of using definition and imagery. And we've created systems of knowledge, which is amazing. But now, there's so much more to go if we're not looking up properly. What that means is that you will feel you have so much to do, but you're not there yet. And we want to be there. We want to always feel we're just there doing the thing that we're meant to. In other words, there's this man named Eckhart Tolle, or Tolle, I don't know what people call. He has a quote that says, "How do you know this is the right moment of experience for you?" Something like that. Because it's the one you're having. This is how you know you need this experience. It's because you're the one having right now. Do not judge yourself to then think transcendence is the task of a titan. You want yourself to feel that every moment is that presence in which you're aware of the beautiful changes that are occurring in your life. When you know you're the awareness to change, you're not bothered by the change. But if you think you're the change and you don't have an awareness to other changes, then you're limited. Your intelligence is capable of being present in bodies that are more than you can see. In other words, we're just looking through this wavelength of experience, just, based on the design. But there are many experiences of designs, and at the same time, no design is separate in this world of connected shapes. Because all shapes will eventually be captured by a greater shape, which can be as simple as the first shape. So we can see simplicity always being blended with complexity. And it's similarly with complexity, because what happens when you reach the most complex problem? You're looking for the simplest answer. When you have the simplest problem, you're looking for the most complex answer. You see, you understand these dynamics and you free your personality from identifying with things it doesn't have to. Be your own moment of what is natural for you to be like. Just be very natural, And that means stop thinking, stop trying. Just breathe, feel your body, feel your movement. Enjoy, for example, if you're eating food. Be grateful for the moment and let the moment reveal itself to you in infinite ways. Then solutions are always able to come to you. Because if you're not accepting a certain range of imagination, you are in a sense pulling out ways in which answers can come to you. So in other words, in this life, I've realized it's not about accepting a certain range and ratio of simplicity and complexity on what our view of life is. It's actually about understanding the most simple and understanding the most complex and seeing every single one in between and working with the awareness and the intelligence that is the knowing of the whole spectrum. And it is present, that is what I call pretty much the collective awareness to the individual, because the individual always is guided by its own separation. How far you see the journey is how far you feel you need to travel and pack for. Now, it is always helpful to re-examine the self, whether you're with body or without body. Because trust me, there's a Rumi quote that says, you need to work just as much as, you need to work as hard as you do in the visible and the invisible, something like that. And the quote, what that means is that when you're looking to grab insight, cultivate insight, you're first defining the shape of your cup and seeing there needs to be no cup. Life is a very profound presence found within ourselves. And what that means is you gotta go explore it. Because there are gifts for you here that open up to you only when you are aware of enough certain senses of self to receive that gift. So be aware of your presence and the harmony, and perhaps even if you like, the elegance and the geometry of how patterns are part of your life just as much as anything else. To understand a fractal nature is to understand on a mental level that thought is always looking to thought. And similarly also looking out. Thank you. Much blessings, and may your moment always be acknowledged to its fullest by you. Thank you. Hello.